Hello, everybody, and welcome to the weekly Oracle Wisdom. My name is Natalie, and we are going to have a look at what the Oracle cards have to tell us about the energies for the week ahead. Okay, so we are starting with the Wisdom of the Oracle, which is a Colette Baron Reid deck. I'm just pulling a few out. I do hope that everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I had a very quiet Thanksgiving, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and I made my first ever pumpkin pie. It was a success. So all in all, it was a wonderful, wonderful long weekend, and I hope that it was as good for all of you. I feel like we need one more. Okay, so the first card out is Between Worlds. Then we have Truth Be Told, Imagine, Happy Happy, and The Fates. So I think that, and I mean, this is really easy energy to be in at this time of year. We're in the first week of the final month of 2025. So we've got that energy of everything's finishing up and we're about to step into a brand new year. And the reality is it can feel like we're either stagnant or we are between these two worlds, because we're still in 2025. That energy is still happening. And yet we're waiting for the new year to begin. And so often we're sitting there going, oh, I need to come up with my New Year's resolutions. And, I'm waiting for all of this to end so I can step forward into this new energy. And the reality is it can be a really awkward place to be. And I think that we need to just remember that it's a time to go with the flow. Sometimes there's work to be done. We have to wrap things up. And other times it's, really preparing for what's coming in the new year. Now, for that, Anne and I have been speaking, for those of you that like Gemini Rising, we have been speaking with Brian, Fixed Air Moon, and we are discussing doing a look at the year ahead with the astrology. So stay tuned. I'm going to speak to Brian hopefully tomorrow and lock in a date. So that date is going to be coming. And hopefully for some of you, if you're feeling a little stuck and stagnant right now, that will help give you a little bit of direction and clarity as to what is actually going on. Now, truth be told, it is a time for, I think, you to be honest about where it is you are and where it is you want to be going. And it also may be a time of people being honest with you about what's going on for them. And if you look closely at this card, you can see that the body of the owl is open. But if you look at what's pouring through that window, it's all love hearts. And this comes from, when we're being honest, now there can be people that can be incredibly cruel. I'm just being honest. I'm being honest with you, and you can't take criticism. Criticism can always be difficult, but there is a difference between criticism and constructive criticism. And so just, if you're finding yourself being honest with people, make sure you're coming from a place of love and a place that is going to serve these people versus being harsh for the sake of being harsh, because that doesn't serve anybody. Now, if you're being honest with yourself, I would say exactly the same thing. Don't criticize yourself just to tear yourself down, and because you're in a place where you're struggling with self-confidence or self-love, you need to be honest while also being fair. And so I would keep that in mind. And the same thing, if people are being honest with you, it's a question of whether, are you being overly sensitive? Are they coming from a place of love and they actually want to help you grow and they want to move your relationship and everything that's going on for the pair of you forward in a really good and healthy way? Or are they coming at you just to be an asshole? So I feel like there's going to be a lot of communication in regard to people being honest about where they're at this week. And I think that's actually a good thing. I think it will help move things forward. We just need to be careful about our delivery and honest about where things are coming from. So then once we get past that, we have Imagine. And I think that as we're finishing up this year, it's a time to think about what it is we want when we're moving forward into these final weeks of 2025 and stepping into a brand new year, where whenever we start a new year, it always feels like we are able to take on anything and create anything. And I feel like this is our time to start manifesting and start setting ourselves up so that we can get the year off to the best possible start, because it's very, very easy to sort of put things off and then all of a sudden we get to New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and we're like, oh, what do I want to do? I don't know what direction I want to move in. But if you start thinking now and being honest about what it is you want to create and use your imagination, like the sky is the limit. If you look at the image on this card, you can see this person and it's like there's a string attached to the moon. To me, this tells you to shoot for the moon, because you know what? If you don't reach it, you're at least among the stars when you land. And the only thing that holds us back is our own limiting beliefs. And we have to move past that. And this is where some truth comes into it, that we need to be honest about what we can achieve, what we can't, where it is we want to go, what it is we're truly capable of. So then we have these two cards, which I feel are absolutely linked. Happy, Happy, and the Fates. Happy, Happy is about the life that we're creating and the space that we're existing in. And if you have a look, you can see the oracle's face within this sort of eggshell or stone that she's sitting on, but she's surrounded in the most beautiful golden rainbow light. And I talked about landing amongst the stars if she couldn't reach the moon. And if you have a look, she is surrounded by stars and starlight, and she's hanging on to one of them. Then if you have a look at the Fates, what is she surrounded by? She's surrounded by stars once again. And you can see these wings. They're translucent. And once again, they're these beautiful rainbow colored wings. By being honest with yourself and where it is you want to go and what it is you want to create, and really leaning into that and really leaning into this manifestation energy that I think is coming up this week. You've got to remember, Mercury has finally moved direct. God, this Mercury retrograde sucked. We have Saturn direct now. So we've got these planets. The planets are starting to move forward again. And so things are starting to shift and move. And so I think this is, with Mercury direct, this is why people are like, let's be honest about things, whether it be to ourselves or to those around us, and being honest about what it is you want to create and trusting that the universe really has your back and wants to create this, and leaning into that manifestation. You are going to create this wonderful, happy energy to exist in, which I think is so freaking wonderful. So I think this is a great week You know, sometimes being honest can be incredibly difficult. And I know that feeling of being stagnant and stuck between two worlds can be incredibly frustrating. But I think that having that feeling is what's going to create that desire to kind of move forward. Now we're going to have a quick look at the Shaman's Dream Oracle, which is another Colette Reid. Actually, this is a Colette Reid reading, because then we're going to pull one card from the Spirit Animal Oracle. Okay. I'm just going to pull the second card. Okay, so the first card out is Perfect Storm, the courage to step into life. I think this is, you know, between two worlds, and if you have a look at it, it's this sort of black and white world, but it looks stormy because of the coloring and the clouds. And then you look at where the flamingo is stepping into, and there's, you know, that light shining out of the flamingo's head. You've got beautiful birds and color and all of that, and the clouds just appear harmless. Now, if we have a look at this crow or this raven, and we've got the perfect storm. Now, if you're looking at this, the storm is actually within the raven. It's not happening on the outside. You've got lightning that's coming from outside of it, but the reality is, I think that's more about the universe or the universal connection. So this is about pushing you into life. And I think that all these retrogrades astrologically have been incredibly challenging and have been making us feel so stagnant. And this is that week where, as things are turning back on, and I mean, if you're a follower of astrology, we always get excited, you know, it's finally direct, whatever planet we're talking about. But the reality is, the day the planet goes direct is when it finally starts moving forward. But for me, that's often the roughest day of the retrograde, either when it's stationing retrograde or stationing direct. And the reason is, the best analogy I can give is, I was having a conversation with a pilot on an airplane one day. We were flying to Hawaii. He got on, it was around Thanksgiving. I was going to say 10 years ago. I don't know if it was, but we got on the flight. I'm a terrible flyer. We were having a conversation about that. And the entire flight was bumpy. It was horrible for me and my anxiety. And he's talking to me. And so I'm asking every single question I have ever had about flying, and why don't we go to a higher altitude? Why don't we drop lower? Why don't we do this? And he's like, listen, you only need to panic when I panic. I'm explaining to him, I'm not afraid of dying. I don't think we're going to fall out of the sky. I just don't enjoy the roller coaster ride. And he was explaining to me that when you're stuck in a jet stream, often there's nothing you can do. But the worst part of the jet stream is right at the beginning as you're getting in there, and right as you're exiting. And to me, that's how I think of retrogrades. The roughest days are often the very beginning and the very end. So with Saturn and Mercury just beginning to move direct, you know, we haven't felt that sort of real relief yet of that forward momentum. So I think that this is a week where we finally start to feel it. I think this is where we need to tap into the universe. And if you have a look at this image, apart from the connection to spirit as I see it, and that storm that's within us, the other thing that's really highlighted here is the stars once again. So this really is about reaching as far as we can towards our goals, no matter how big and crazy they seem. People thought I was crazy when I said I wanted to move to the US. And on Christmas Eve, I will have been living here for 8 years. And it was the best decision I ever made, despite what everybody else tried to convince me of. So this is a week where I feel you're going to feel that push and pull. energy, but it's about stepping into life and stepping away from the storm and the uncertainty, your own self-doubts, and really stepping into the life that you have imagined and that you want to manifest for yourself, and the joy in all of that. Then we have jeweled web connectivity. And so we've got this beautiful spider web that looks like it's got droplets of water on it, which look like jewels as the sun or light is shining onto it. And the reality is everything that goes on in this world is interconnected. And we often forget that. And again, I go back to this lightning. The storm is within us, but the lightning is connecting us to the universe. And it's coming from every direction, north and south. And so it is a huge reminder this week that we are connected to the universe. We're connected to everything around us. And you need to remember that. And that is going to help you trust the universe, trust fate, that there are things that are meant for us and that we are going to step into, whether we want to or not, because the universe is just doing its thing. Okay. So then we're going to finish up with the spirit animal oracle, which is Colette Baron Reid again. And we have wasp spirit. Sometimes life stings. And I think this is more about the honesty of what's going on and where we're at. And I think realizing that we have been stuck somewhere can be incredibly confronting. I think when we're being honest with ourselves, and I'm talking in a very honest and unconditional, loving way, sometimes that honesty can hurt. And it's only when we are truly honest with ourselves that we're able to step forward and grow and move into it. But that can sometimes hurt. If the honesty is coming from an outside source and it is coming from a place of love and it is constructive in what is being told to us, it's not always fun, but sometimes it's exactly what we need to hear to sort of shake us out of the space that we're in, and especially if we're stuck somewhere. So I think that this is a great week. I think it's a great week because we're going to feel that momentum starting to move forward once again, even if it's a slow sort of pace in the beginning, but then eventually it will pick up steam as the planets are direct for a longer period of time. Make sure you use this week's energy to manifest everything that you want, and trust the connection that we have with the universe. Trust that the universe has our back and the universe wants us to win, and trust in the connections that exist between us and the universe. We don't need to live in this state of this inner turmoil and this inner storm that's going on within us. We don't need to exist in that. We can use that to propel us forward and move into this more peaceful world that's filled with color and light and joy. So the choice is yours as to how you want to proceed this week. If you want to stay tormented, by all means, you can do that. I think it's much better to lean into the momentum forward and the joy that exists and really embrace all of that. Right before I went live with this weekly Oracle Wisdom, I filmed the monthly. I am about to head out to a dance class. So as soon as I get back, I'm going to just get that quickly edited and posted. So that should be up by 10 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And I am thinking of doing a year ahead reading for 2026. So I'm thinking I'll do that in the next couple of weeks. I haven't done one of those readings before for the year ahead. So please let me know in the comments if that's something that you would be interested in having me do. I'm thinking it would be just a single reading for the collective rather than pick a pile or anything like that, because then we can do sort of like a deeper dive into what's going on. And as I mentioned at the very beginning of this reading, I am in talks with Fixed Air Moon Brian to do a look ahead with the astrology for 2026 on Gemini rising. So Anne and I are super excited about that. So I will keep you posted for dates with that. I hope that everybody has a wonderful week, and make sure you check out the December monthly Oracle Wisdom, which will be posted 10 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And I will see you Thursday in the studio for full disclosure, and of course back here next Monday for the weekly Oracle Wisdom. Have a wonderful week, everyone.